I got to this point where I just remember sitting there and I was so unhappy and so filled with hate and so filled with anger. And I just literally wanted to die. I
Mm.
really did. There was a storm outside and I'm out in my backyard. I mean, I'm talking lightning right there. It's just slashing through the sky, thunder booming. I'm out in the rain yelling at God, why do you hate me so much? I don't understand what I did. What did
Oh,
I do? And instantly I heard, why do you hate you?
hmm. Wow.
Exactly. And I just stopped, like the tears stopped everything. It's almost like I just froze
Wow.
because truth, my soul knew that is truth. And I went back inside, just dripping wet, going, yeah, why do I hate myself so much?
You beautifully broken me, yeah, da 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 da. Beautifully broken me, yeah, yeah. I'm a queen, I am royalty. My scars don't define me. I'll never stop, I'll keep moving on, moving to the top, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today and welcome to the Beautifully Broken Me podcast. Our conversations are centered on helping you tap into your authentic superpowers where you can become your truest, authentic self. Do you want more out of your life? Do you desire a life where you can flourish freely and live a life of peace, joy, and abundance? Leveraging on all of your life experiences and using them as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block? My guest will definitely challenge your thinking, giving you practical and relatable tools to be more, do more, and have more. My name is Nabo IJ. I want to officially welcome you to the show. Before I bring on my guest, I just want you guys to know that I have a small gig, I have a small business. It is called Noble IJ Collections. Noble IJ Collection is an online store. We specialize on all kinds of hats, fancy hats, derby hats, church hats, party hats, wedding hats, fashion hats. Please do well to support my small business. Check out the link on my show note. Hello and welcome to yet another incredible episode of the Beautifully Broken Me podcast. I have with me here an incredible guest. She is Laurie Herbers. She's a relationship and spiritual love coach. She's an author. Her books are Second Chances, How I Turned Hate into Love and Found My Purpose. And one of her other books is Becoming Abundant, Embracing and Enhancing Your Unique Design. And the other book says I Love Me Journal, a coloring book that is so incredible. I just want to welcome you to this podcast. I want to officially welcome you to the Beautifully Broken Me podcast.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, some of the things I read on your bio, you're a love coach, you're a relationship and spiritual love coach. Can you dive more and tell us more about, that aspect of you, and then introducing yourself too, because the audience won't meet with you. So who is Laurie?
Oh my gosh. I am a little bit crazy weird. But that's the thing about learning to love yourself. You love all of your pieces. And one of the things about me is I'm very animated. I think that's why I was pretty good with kids when I was a teacher, because they never knew what I was going to say or what I was going to do or where I was going to go. Because I really believe that life should be entertaining and that it's a journey, and it's a beautiful journey that we're on. It's not something that's meant to hold us back.
Mhm.
So the whole idea about relationships is we're in relationship with everything, with the world, with each other, with ourselves, with money, with nature, with our pets. Like sometimes we don't understand the enormity of we are always in a relationship. We're in a relationship with our mind and our heart and our soul. So that whole idea came from the fact that a lot of us that don't love ourselves in the way that we're supposed to are going to struggle, first of all, with a relationship with ourselves. Because if we can't have a good relationship with ourselves, we cannot possibly have it with anyone else, because you cannot give what you do not have.
Mm.
So that was key to that piece. And then the spiritual love piece came about is because we are all connected spiritually. We are connected with all things. We have knowledge and wisdom, and the way I always look at it is intuition. Once we start tapping into our intuition, we can go deeper because
Mhm.
there's a collective knowledge and wisdom that is ours.
Hmm.
It's right there. We just have to learn to connect within. It's not something outside of ourselves. It's something within ourselves, which is the same with love. So I spend a lot of my life thinking love was somewhere out there, and I always talk about a love bucket. We all have this love bucket. And to me, I just could picture myself carrying this love bucket, just dragging this dirty, dusted, broken up love bucket that's empty,
Mhm.
waiting for someone to just put just a little bit in it. Like,
Mm.
why can't someone love me? And it wasn't until I realized that this is my love bucket. It is nobody else's job to make sure that that baby's overflowing.
Hmm.
I have that capacity within myself to fill it myself.
Wow.
And that was a huge eye-opening moment that we all need to encompass and understand that love is already ours. We already have it. We came from love. We are love. It flows to us. It flows through us.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. And one of the things you said, you love all your pieces. So we love every part of us, the crazy part of it, the pragmatic aspect of myself, the impulsive aspect of me, everything put together. I have to love myself and I have to love me the way I ought to love any other person. And that's so cool. That's so incredible. And today we're looking at love is already yours. Oh my goodness, this is such an incredible topic. I just really want you to, talk to us a little bit more about how can we embrace this love. Okay, looking at what's going on in the world today, there's a lot of pain. There's this vacuum in people's hearts. The desire to be loved unconditionally. When you listen to the news, there's a lot of pain. There's a lot of everything going on. There's no we often think that there's no love anywhere. So how can I accept myself as love?
I think what really helps is understanding that everything about your life is beautiful. As coming from abuse and trauma in my youth, I thought that that was my life. And the thing is, that's just a piece of my story. It is not my entire story. Like, you can turn the page. You don't have to stay on that page.
Mhm.
And again, going back to the spiritual love piece, because love is in all time. And one of the I think the most important things that I learned on my journey was being able to go back into those moments of abuse and trauma and filling it with love energy and shifting my perspective and adding love and forgiveness into those moments allowed me to heal my soul. Because I really believe that when you are wounded in those ways, it literally wounds your soul. And unless you do something to basically fill that soul back up with love, because love is a catalyst, love is the only thing that can heal you, it will change everything for you. And plus understanding that, you know what, I'm not stuck on this page. I can choose different. I can choose myself. And I think the biggest key to love is understanding that with love comes honor. And when you really dig into what honor means, and if you cannot even honor yourself, you cannot honor anyone else. And the biggest thing about that is if you can't honor someone else, then you have no honor for yourself.
Wow.
So it's a 360. And when you really start looking at that, and even in the thoughts that go through your head, if a thought goes through your head that doesn't honor you, then you need to get rid of it. You need to change it to an honoring thought. You don't have to keep it. Just because that thought pops in doesn't mean you have to accept it as truth.
Wow.
You say, no, not today.
Absolutely. And what you just said was just key because, sometimes those negative thoughts keep popping up more than the positive one. And why is this really so? Because, sometimes we often look at ourselves in a very wrong way and then we just complain about, oh my God, I am not beautiful. I am not this, and those inner critics just keeps coming. And then we keep saying it all over and over. We keep saying it over and over and over again. Can you just touch on that quickly?
Well, my first thought was who said? Who said you're not beautiful? Who said you're not worthy? Who says you're not enough? Go back to that, because when we see imperfections within ourselves, then we're not seeing ourselves clearly.
Wow.
It's a misperception of who we are. And usually that comes because somebody else told us who we are. And so that's why I'm very adamant to tell people that never allow someone else's words to become your truth. They don't decide, you decide.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I did too is I'm really great at visualizing. I visualize a box and I put all the words of you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're never going to amount to anything, you're too stupid for college, like all those things that I heard when I was younger. I put them all in the box and then I pictured handing them right back to them and said, here you go, these are yours. I don't need them. They're not mine. We don't have to keep them.
Wow. That is so incredible. I really like that analogy. And you just said it and I just pictured it and I feel really good. Because coming from where I came from, it was basically like, a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, and it just kind of like, oh, you're not good enough. Look at that piece of rag. It's what's more better than you, and all of those kind of things. And because I just allowed those things to drain me, I allowed those things to, get the better part of me where I lost myself completely in the process, and all of those kind of things. But the analogy you provided was just like, boom, put it in a box and just give it to him and be like, hey, this is not mine. It's yours. Take it. Yes.
I don't accept this. Yeah. I never asked for this present. So here you go.
So quickly, someone who is basically like, hurting, just like the story I just, gave few seconds ago, about how I used to be. Someone could be listening and the person could be in that situation where she is constantly told that she's not good enough. The voice of whoever is telling them this particular thing is louder than their own inner truths. Okay. What would you advise this person? How would you admonish or advice? What would be the best advice?
I always tell my clients to take a step back, to almost imagine that they came across a piece of paper on the ground and they picked it up. And on that piece of paper, it said that you're not good enough, or you're not worthy, or you're ugly, or, whatever it was that they said to you. And you want to take the emotion out of it. Because the thing about emotion is our emotions aren't meant to own us. We're meant to own the emotion. So emotions are just telling us something. Usually, like I said, when your soul has wounds, it's crying out to you. And it's going to use emotion. It's going to use what it can to get attention to you to heal me. Because deep down, you know that you need to heal, and you can. It is possible. So it's a matter of almost picking up this piece of paper. It's like you're maybe, PI, secret agent man, however you want, whatever makes it feel a little better, a little lighter, and look at that. And then really look at it and think, okay, the person that said this, what was going through their mind? Because usually when they make a comment like that to you, is because that's how they feel about themselves. Because remember, you can only give what you have. So if that person is giving you distruths about yourself, so basically lying to you, it's because they already believe the lies about themselves.
Wow.
So when you can go back and basically untangle what's going on and realize, again, that's theirs. They didn't know what else to give because that's all they have to give, which is why it's so important to think about that love bucket you have every day. What are you doing every day to put love in there? What are you doing for yourself? Because self-care is so important. And when I grew up, I was always told it was selfish to do things first. But here's the key. If my bucket is empty and I'm supposed to go out and give love to the world, how can I? All I'm giving is the least of myself because I'm empty. But if I take time out first and I fill my bucket and I tap into that fullness of love that is in all things, now my bucket's overflowing. So everywhere I go, I'm just spilling love out like glitter. And you know how glitter sticks to everything?
Absolutely.
That's how you need to start seeing love. Love is like glitter. Everywhere I'm going, I have the option to go empty everywhere, or I could be so full that everywhere I go, glitter is flying everywhere, and I'm able to give compassion and honor and love to other people because I already have so much for myself. I can now give it to other people.
Wow. Thank you so much. This was really good. Quickly, I just want to know, like, what was that pivotal moment for you? Because you are such a spiritual love coach, doing incredible, incredibly awesome, in your field, in all the things you're doing. What was that backstory that, brought you into what you're doing right now?
My pivotal moment came when my father passed away suddenly. And at that time, I was in a horrible marriage. I was one of those where I thought, this person could love me. No, he couldn't because he didn't love himself. Other story. But I got to this point where I just remember sitting there and I was so unhappy and so filled with hate and so filled with anger. And I just literally wanted to die. I
Mm.
really did. There was a storm outside and I'm out in my backyard. I mean, I'm talking lightning right there, it's just slashing through the sky, thunder booming. I'm out in the rain yelling at God, why do you hate me so much? I don't understand what I did. What did
Oh.
I do? And instantly I heard, why do you hate you?
Hmm. Wow.
Exactly. And I just stopped, like the tears stopped everything. It's almost like I just froze
Wow.
because truth, my soul knew that is truth. And I went back inside, just dripping wet, going, yeah, why do I hate myself so much?
Hmm.
And that was my point where I decided, you know what? I don't want to live like this anymore. I deserve to have love.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized later, as it took years. But that's when I realized love has always been mine. It's always yours.
Mhm.
You came to this world loved. And that's why I always tell people, look back at little kids. Their normal space is joy and wonder and magic.
Mhm.
That is what our everyday should look like. But it's the programming. It's like we got reprogrammed by our parents or by
Hmm.
being kids, because kids are mean. Somewhere along the way, we got disconnected. And that's why I always tell people, you're not lost, you're not broken.
Hmm.
You are beautiful and enough just as you are. You just got disconnected from the truth of who you are.
Hmm.
So in essence, you need to reconnect. And you reconnect by loving yourself, by doing the things that fill your love bucket, by being inspired by the magic that you are, because you came forth with this
Mhm.
wonder that only you have. There is no other you. There never was before. There never will be again.
Mhm.
You have a very unique purpose. And so start diving into what makes me so amazing, because you are. And once you start doing that, you start to find your soul healing again. And once you're healed, once your soul is healed, that's when the joy comes back, because your soul is meant to be in that constant space of joy and peace and love.
Hmm. Wow, that's so good. So apart from more like like self-care, apart from words of affirmations and what else? What else would you recommend in terms of, doing the thing to fill up our love buckets?
Um, Honor. When you really think about honoring yourself, it will change. It will shift your thinking, because now you're paying attention.
Mhm.
You're choosing every single day, and sometimes every moment throughout the day, because like I said, you have to like almost rewire the programming that's already in your brain, um, to start seeing yourself more clearly, because you have this distorted view, because you're looking through other people's eyes of their perception, which is
Mhm.
really their own perception of their self. They just kind of pushed it onto you. Um, so as you start paying attention to what is going through your head, that I'm not worthy, and you start to catch them faster. At first, there's like so many, because you're so used to just allowing your brain to just run wild and
Mhm.
tell you how, ugly and unperfect and unwanted you are. And you
Mhm.
start listening and go, wait a minute, is that really true? Because I remember the one moment, there was a very defining moment where in my head it kept saying, you're unlovable, no one can love you. And I just went, like, again, like I stepped back
Mhm.
and I'm like, wait a minute, is that actually true? And then I was like, well, my mom loves me and my sister loves me and my pets love me and my daughter. And then all of a sudden it's like, once you disprove the lie,
Mhm.
it just kind of shrivels away. And you're like, wait, what? That's not even right. That's not even right. So yeah, paying attention to yourself, because you deserve to be listened to.
Mhm.
Yeah, and honor. Always think about that. Is
Okay.
what that person just said to me honoring to me? No, then that's their own perception, and I don't have to accept that as my perception
Mm.
of myself.
Wow. And honestly, like, this really would help anybody who is, hurting, or who wants to heal from their soul wounds. And is there any other techniques or any other way, like, apart from love, that that you would suggest or recommend, where which will help people kind of heal from, you know traumas and pains and all of that?
Um, yeah, I think I mean, besides the love and the love energy, even just paying attention, start spending time in nature and imagining the energy, because we all have like an aura. We all emit this frequency.
Hmm.
Start paying attention to like I started real simple, like even just like a piece of toast or whatever. I was imagining, what would the energy around this feel like? And the more you pay attention to that, and the more you spend time outside, especially like the night sky, the expanse of the stars in the universe, and you're
Hmm.
thinking, I'm made of that same fabric,
Mm.
of that ginormous, beautiful sky, of magnificent, like I'm made of that.
Hmm.
When you think of that, you're like, mind blown. I'm a piece of this.
Hmm.
I'm magic. I'm wonder. And, whatever it is that you think that, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like you have this ability to be so much bigger than you are, but you can't see it when you're shut up in your little house, just allowing your brain to tell you, you're not worthy and nobody likes you. And if they knew who you really were, they wouldn't accept you. But here's the thing, if you knew who you really were,
Mm.
you wouldn't need them to accept you.
Wow.
You
That's
already accept yourself. And once you accept yourself, they're like, man, I want what she has over there. And now
absolutely.
you're in business. Because now you're giving them something they need. And then that's my dream. Because you were talking about how the world, all the things that are going on right now.
Hmm.
And that's because everybody's focusing outward
Mm.
first. They don't have anything to give to the outward. And so they're listening to what everybody else is saying to them instead of going inward and
Mm.
saying, well, that's not me. I'm silly and I'm fun and I love to laugh, and I'm going to start doing those things that make me laugh, that make me feel good.
Mm.
Because when we start doing that, and when our energy shifts and now we're in that love and we're overflowing, and then we run into someone else and then we teach them how to be overflowing, see what I'm saying? And then they're overflowing and they're overflowing. Imagine the difference this world would be.
Absolutely. It's so true.
That's my dream. A world like that, where we're all just overflowing.
Wow, this is such an incredible analogy. And can you just tell us about, your book? If there's any aha moments from your book that you want to share with us?
Oh, well, which one? Well, my first book is really my story. And that's why I always tell people to journal, because it's so important to write down what you're thinking now and what you're hearing now, because you are connected to all knowledge. And sometimes we write things down and in the moment we're like, yeah. But then like a year or 2 or 5 years, you come across that baby and you've done a whole bunch of growing, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, why didn't I remember that? That's so amazing, because we can't remember everything. So write it down. And then I also tell people, I'm like, and now you already have your life story. It's already written. It's already written down. So not only could it inspire you, and I've had people like, I don't want people to read my thoughts. Why not? Because you're shifting and growing. Think about someone else that needs to shift and grow, and they come across this and they're like, oh, look at where she came from and now she's here.
Mm.
And that's why I wrote my first story, is I wanted to inspire people. I'm like, you're not broken. You're enough just as you are. You just got to unwind some of the lies and heal your soul. And then the second one kind of came about because, well, God's like, you're writing this, first of all, but becoming abundance, we're always becoming something. So it's up to us to decide. Like in my pivotal moment, I had to decide, do I want to keep going backwards?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I want to start growing and loving myself? And so I decided I want to become abundance of the good things. So you're either becoming abundance of all the things that you want and dream of, or you're becoming all the things you don't want and that you really don't want to dream about. So that's where that book came about. And then my coloring book, my journal coloring book, was just one day. It was out of nowhere. I just like to cut. My daughter liked to color and I love to journal. And one day I was like, I'm just going to make a journal about I love me. And so these prompts are all about how amazing I am and how to love myself. And then there's journaling prompts to journal with it. But I'm like, but I want to make it something they can color too, because coloring is an expression of ourselves. Some of us are very artistic and creative. And so that also allows you not only to learn to love yourself, but now I can doodle and color and just make it look like me. I can put my me into the color. So that came out of nowhere. And I remember just telling my sister what I was making, and she's like, oh, I want that. And so I actually, I have mine have one sitting right here because I've been coloring in it.
Oh, that's pretty.
You can't see it because they're, but I even started coloring in it. It's fun. See, I am enough. It's like, I think it is my favorite thing just because it just inspires other people to love themselves. But again, once you learn to love yourself and you connect with intuition, and ever since I've done that, like that's where these books came from. They came out of nowhere. Like wasn't thinking about it. I have other ideas of books I need to write, but these like beat it. And then this new program that I have coming out actually on April 5th, but it's a program that's more of an evergreen. So you can join at any time kind of thing. So I've been busy putting that together, and that's all about becoming the one God called, because we are all called, whether you believe in God or not. You are still a piece of the cosmic puzzle, and you are important, and you have an amazing purpose, and your uniqueness is for that reason. So yeah, there's so much going on up here in my brain to get out, but yeah.
Wow. I've just really been like learning so much from all that you're sharing, and I am adding them to my toolbox. And I just really want to say thank you for all this, wisdom that you're pouring out. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about, having a gratitude list, more like, a lot of people have a gratitude list. What's your thoughts about the gratitude list?
I love the gratitude list. I also have a miracles list because if you seek something, you will find it. So if you're already going about your day going, what a miracle am I going to see today? You're going to see some pretty amazing stuff happen. And then you can write it down later. And I think one of the funnest ones I had one day, I was like, I'm going to because there was like there's like 5 lights for me to get out of here away from my house. And one day I'm like, I'm just going to get all greens. And I did. Every single one was a green light. And to me, I'm like, miracle, write it down. So whenever you're feeling down, it's the same thing when you're thankful and when you start seeing things that you normally wouldn't see. Like I saw robins in like December, it was snow. And I'm like, why are these robins here? That's a miracle. Writing that down. You're more aware because now you have opened yourself up to not only see, but receive miracles along with your gratitude. So, have a gratitude and a miracle journal. Interweave them. It's all yours. You can do what you want.
Cool. That's exciting. So I usually ask all my podcasts, ask them these questions. So what would you tell your younger self?
I would say you are worthy. You are enough, just as you are. Because right then, that would have changed my world back then. Because I thought I was so unworthy. Yeah. You're born worthy. I could go on. You're beautiful, amazing. There's only one you. You have more power than you realize within you. Yeah.
And that just brings me back to one question that pops up in my head right now. Like, you said we have more power than we can realize. And it's just more like sometimes when life beats us down, we don't know. We might know, but because we're so focused on, all of the things that is going on around us, it kind of like, it has a way of like getting into us and just breaking us down and all of those kind of things. Can you just touch more on, we have power within us. And honestly, the fact that like from what you're sharing, I can see that I have a lot of power. I have a lot of good stuff within me that I haven't even started using, even 1/10 of it. So touch on that for a little bit while we get ready to wrap up.
I think, again, back to the little kids. Watch little kids playing. They don't sit there and go, well, I can't have that because how would that happen? They don't have the mental capacity to block themselves. As adult, we start going, well, I can't see how A would get to Z would get to M to T. We ruin it by trying to figure it out when we learn to let go of it. And I think the funnest thing I ever had was my nephew. really wanted strawberries. We were at a graduation party and I was sitting by him and he's like, Grandma, I want strawberries. And she's like, well, I don't think there was strawberries on the table. And he goes, check again because there'll be strawberries. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of faith. And by golly, she went down, came back with strawberries. And he was like, I told you.
Wow.
So really watch little kids because they don't block themselves. As adults, we block ourselves from having what we want because we're like, well, I don't see how that's possible. The how is not our problem. That's how I look at it. The how, give the how up. And then you feel a lot lighter because you're like, oh, I don't need to know how this is going to happen, but it's going to happen. And I carry on.
Oh, that's incredible. So do you have any recommendation, any book you can recommend, to my listeners, or any resources or anything?
It depends on what they're looking for. Like if they're looking for inspiration, like, my first book, if they're, coming from abuse or trauma and they're like, well, how the heck did she do this? They could read my first book.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. There was one book, I want to say it was Beth Moore's, So Long Insecurity, You've Been a Bad Friend to Us. That one I remember buying for me and my daughter, and we both read it together because we allow our insecurities, again, the how are we supposed to make this happen, get in our way of creating beautiful lives because we're so worried about, well, how? We don't need to worry about the how.
Yes.
I would also say, follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That's all I do anymore every morning. It's usually a Bible verse and then some amazing facts to go along with the truth of who you are and who you come from and where you come from. Again, you're connected to the universe. Think about that. You're the same fabric as the universe of shooting stars and, all of those amazing things and eclipses. And think about that. You're made of that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Laurie. Thank you so much for, coming on. I just want you to tell us your last and final word, that is just going to stick with us.
Last and final words. Love is already yours. We started that way and I'm going to end that way. Love is already yours.
Yes. Accept it and embrace it and take it. It is.
Yep. Run with it.
And where the audience can find you. Yes.
Oh, yeah. There's solovelegacy.com is my website. You can find me by my name on Facebook or Soul Love Legacy. I'm on Instagram, Soul Love Legacy. I actually just started my own podcast called Truth Bombs and Heart Nudges. So look that up. It's on Spotify. It's brand new. There's not very many episodes yet, but yeah, I'm kind of everywhere.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This was a good time. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And anyone that's listening, feel free to reach out.
Wow, what an incredible episode. I hope you've been blessed by this episode. Please be sure to subscribe so that you'll be the first to know when we upload a new episode. And please feel free to also tell a friend if this episode has greatly inspired you. You can visit us at thebeautifullybrokenne.com. You can also send us an email at nobleij@nobleij.com. We're also on social media at The Beautifully Broken Me. Thank you for listening. Stay blessed. Be well.